Hello, and welcome to the Esoteric Survivalist. Today, we're going to talk about more basics. Because if we get these basics in our head, we can avoid a lot of effort, let's say. Because this is about being resourceful, where time seems to be running out, where stress seems to be over the top, where aspirations never seem to be met, as if at every turn something stands against you. Or even if it doesn't, coming upon hard times, sometimes we need more than even faith. Sometimes we need more than faith. Sometimes we need more than logic and reason. Sometimes we need more than what we think we have and what we're told we should have. Sometimes we need something that's related to esoteric resourcefulness. Because I don't want the esoteric survivalist to focus on the starkness and the bleakness, hopelessness, or even if somebody is suffering from depression, that whole thing. I don't claim to be a therapist or anything like that. This is about being able to reach within yourself, and it's a cliche, reach within yourself and claim your power. No, actually, this is a little more down to earth than that. This is about creating a mindset that will allow you to avoid, or at least reflect or deflect, and if not that, mitigate any circumstances. It may be more than that. You never know. That's the thing about esoteric practices. And esoteric survivalism isn't about focusing on training. It isn't about advanced stuff. It is about getting certain basics in the way you can handle them. So let me start with a fundamental, and then we'll move from here to other fundamentals. In the past videos, we talked about the basics of what esoteric survivalism is, and it can't really be clear because the term is made up, but it actually describes a state that I want to convey. So over these next several videos, I'm going to give certain fundamentals of mostly mental attitude and mental orientation, because the mind is the trap of the spirit that afflicts us. The mind is the trap of the spirit that doesn't belong in or within us or in our lives. Just call this an influence, this spirit that I'm talking about. It's not you, it's not your soul, but it is almost at the level of causality, sometimes reflected in the outside world. Some people call it karma, but it's almost like something that doesn't like you, and as if life doesn't like you, or as if you should be hated. Even if you tell yourself you should be loved and all of this. But there's more than that, because the whole point is that it's very hard to love or love yourself when voices of hatred are screaming inside. And these voices aren't voices of hatred just to the world. Usually people with that aspect, that dynamic, don't worry about most things, because they channel everything into the hatred that they then project. In fact, some people are even sustained like that. I guess they call it psychopathy when that happens, because you cannot have empathy in that state. Because if you open up to empathy, then that hatred will just pour in, and you'll end up hating yourself, or you'll end up running into people and events even that hate you. So in order to navigate this kind of thing, and it's too complex to really get into in these short videos, maybe if and when I make longer ones, we can get into the causality. Otherwise, I write about this stuff on acgeorge.substack.com, where you can even find podcasts where we discuss advanced magical practices that are creatively modified, shall we say, to work better. So back to the point. I want to talk about 4 levels of attainment, or 4 levels of practice, 4 levels of engagement in the esoteric dynamic. And this kind of is going to reorganize everything we are basically told about psychology and esotericism. Their relationship. And there is a relationship. I mean, Carl Jung, his work was based on that relationship, even though he didn't emphasize the occult stuff. But what I want to say is that there are 4 levels, and the first level is the psychological one. It's the level when you look within yourself, because when you are moving into esoteric dynamics, you're harnessing aspects of your mind. First of all, the mind is the one that actually orients through all of this stuff. And then even that includes the heart, the emotions, everything, because our perceptions and our consciousness work through the mind. And I'm not just talking about the brain and the head. I'm talking about the whole neural network as a physical basis for the mind's expression, but it extends through the cells as well. But when we get into that dynamic, molecular field construction, whatever you want to call it, we go into the energy body. So let me just say that 4 levels of engagement, we start with a psychological level. Our relationship with ourselves, which isn't really our relationship, but our sense of identity, our sense of fitting in our own skin. The second level is the level of relationship, immediate relationship, personal relationship even with groups, relationship with systems, with a country, with a continent, with a culture, religion, relationships. But these relationships are always specific. It's us and something. That something is essentially, it's an objective thing. You learn to interact in terms of relationship and open up awareness in that sense. Now, that is essentially a beginner's level meditational dynamic, transformational dynamic. Even if you do occult practice, ritual, whatever, you can alter your state and you reach various degrees of that. Most people stop there, or they enter the third phase unconsciously. The third phase is where things get serious because it seems in the world, and this is why the esoteric survivalist is even here, in the world there is a collective level awareness. The species, awareness of the species, or by proxy, even the awareness of any species or the whole world or the planet. You enter dynamics of greater encompassment. But at this phase, I'm really focusing on the human collective. And we'll discuss that because it's an important point. The first 2 stages are fairly understood. The 4th stage is mystical. This is where you actually connect with the universe at various levels. So the 3rd stage is terrestrial, but it's basically restricted to the human collective. That's what we're focusing on in esoteric survivalism. Then when you move, the human collective is like an individual in a sense because it is affected by things. And then those things in turn affect systemically, and everybody is influenced depending on who you are, how you are, where you are, and your predispositions and many, many factors. In any case, the 4th level is mystical. We're not concerned with it. This is esoteric survivalism. We're not out for enlightenment, self-realization. In fact, there are levels of enlightenment and self-realization that start from the psychological. Was it Abraham Maslow? Abraham Maslow. Maslow's pyramid of priorities, where he starts with survival, then relationships, and then it goes up to some kind of empowerment, security, whatever. And the last one is self-actualization, where you fully realize yourself. You understand yourself completely, you understand where you're going, and you have the skill to navigate your own being within the world and navigate the world through your true being. And that demands an expansion of consciousness, of course. But we're still in the psychological level there. It doesn't mean that you have to reach self-actualization to move to the next step, but you must touch upon it at least. And the next step would be if you're interested in psychic connections, but it can also be an extension of the psychological level. However, here we enter into the level of intuition and psychic connections. The 3rd level expands upon that, and that's where people have spiritual crises, because collective karma is a bitch. Way more than individual karma, and humanity cannot hold back its collective karma. There are levels of collective denial at work that affect all of us through social conditioning, and so we can never actualize what nature has gifted us to be healthy, esoterically speaking, to be healthy in terms of potential of those 4 stages. So when I say esoteric, I am actually also including the psychological level, but also the 2nd level of psychic activity, magic or whatever that most people engage in, and then the third level, which is almost like a blank spot, because most people then would jump to the mystical level, sometimes from the psychological to the mystical. And I disagree that that is the best way to do it. I believe going through all four levels is the most solid, stable progression. We don't have to be thorough. However, I will hop from one level to the next level, at least for the first three, because the third level is the one where esoteric survivalism actually occurs. The first two levels, that's what you're going to get from seminars, from teachings, most teachings. They may even guide you to the fourth level, but the third level is usually incognito. And yet that's where we need to focus. So in future discussions, starting from the next one probably, and very soon, the next few days, we're going to talk about level 3. Level 3 is the collective level of humanity. So until then, hope you have a good one. Magus out.